And the type of training that these officers undergo all during the year is designed by a number of instructors that have gone to schools throughout Canada and the United States. With us today, beginning with Staff Sergeant Shane Stevenson of the Toronto Police Motor Squad. Next up is Sergeant Cruz, one of our platoon sergeants, and he just recently finished a motorcycle instruction course at IPTM in Jacksonville, Florida. Next up is one of our lead police motorcycle instructors for the Toronto Police Motor Squad, Constable Chris Ewell. This Constable Steve Aguilar, he's also one of our instructors in our unit. Been on the department for 17 years, been on the motors for roughly 14. Steve has competed all over the United States and he's done very well. Training cadre. Constable Page has also been on the department for about 20 years and he's been with the motors for the last 15. He's been also a member of the Wing Wheel Show team. Okay, next up is Constable Laurent Bellion. Constable Bellion was a police officer in Paris, France before he came to the Toronto Police. He's been with the Toronto Police for 16 years and he's been on our motor squad for 6 years and he just recently became an instructor with us. And our new hotshot, this is Dawid Kershin. Dawid's been on the department for approximately 10 years, and he's been 3 years in the motor squad and is already an instructor. And he just tied for first place overall out of 80 motors at the Great Lakes Police Motorcycle Training Seminar. And from the Ontario Provincial Police, this is Constable Dave Gray. Any of the 911 riders have met this fellow, they'll certainly remember him. Dave Gray's been on the department for 22 years, and 17 of those years he's been on a police motorcycle. And this is the one and only Constable Jim Wallace from the Tillsonburg Department of the Ontario Provincial Police. Jimmy's a motorcycle instructor, he's an accident reconstructionist, and Jimmy and I just finished teaching a level 2 advanced course down at the Ontario Police College in Elmer. We're up for Jimmy. And our own Ricky Bobby, this is Rick Breckenridge. OPT on the golden.
Scrape the boards, right?
Okay, this is Constable Dawid Kershin. So start off our little demonstration. One of the things that people have difficulty when they're operating a really heavy motorcycle like a police electric glide or we're going to demonstrate picking it up with one officer, and I believe we're also going to demonstrate with 2, but first we're going to pick it up with 1. So you're off by yourself and you need to pick it up. We found that this is the easiest way to get the motorcycle up, using your legs, planting your butt into the seat, and pulling up on you got to make sure that side stands out first so you don't throw it on the other side. Because then the inspector gets unhappy. The beautiful thing about those strong track bars on these machines. So now you got a little bit of help, a little bit of offset on the other foot peg, and it just snaps right up. Place the kickstand and make sure that the motorcycle is in gear, so if you're on a bit of a hill, it doesn't roll away on you. Thank you very much, Constable Kershin. It's beautiful. Thank you. The next thing that we're going to demonstrate is a little bit of a braking exercise. You know, 10 to 15 years ago, most motorcycles that you would buy, unless you paid top premium dollar, did not have anti-lock brakes. Almost everything that's sold now does, but there is a little bit of an art to getting the most out of braking with these systems. So what Constable Ewell here is going to demonstrate is a panic brake. He's going to snap on both the front and the rear brake levers without giving any thought to weight transfer or squeezing steady pressure onto those brakes. And you'll hear a clicking noise, and that'll be the ABS activating. So let's give it a whirl with a bit of a panic stop first. You hear that little clicking out of the back wheel? A little bit out of the front. That's the ABS activating. Every time that ABS activates, it releases brake pressure off of the brakes, which means the motorcycle travels just a little bit farther. Even with ABS, that braking distance, especially on dry pavement, can be shortened a little bit by using a proper technique of applying the brakes gently, getting weight transfer onto that front tire, and then squeezing progressively on the front lever. So let's see if you can do a little better on this run. Okay, no chatter, a little smoother. Let's do one more run, Chris. You'll notice on the first run that the front forks were compressing and then expanding, meaning that the brake pressure was coming off the front. This last run, the front forks stayed compressed the entire time. Look at those front forks, they never pop up. Bam. Thank you, Chris. There we go, we got to pick up again. Look at how close the corner of that front fairing is to the crash bar of the inside bike. Maybe 2 inches in there, I'd put that. Very nicely done. We're going to set up. And then go through a series of the patterns there that they open up a little bit. Was Constable Dave Gray from the Ontario Provincial Police and Dawit Khurshid of the Toronto Police Motor Squad.
Yeah, that's good. The mirrors.
Apparently mirrors are expensive. Alright, there we go. So the inside rider sets the pace, and the outside rider takes his forward onto the inside of the outside. Wow. Take a look at their faces, they're talking all the time. How about that beam angle on that outside motorcycle, folks? Well, as usual, I'm told that they will. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to get into a little bit of the skills patterns that we use to keep these officers sharp in their skills. This type of training is important and enables the officer to handle their machine in a manner that is proficient and competent. Every one of our officers in the motor squad and every one of the Ontario Provincial Police motor officers re-qualify at least once a year in order to keep their qualification and stay on the police motorcycles. It isn't a given, folks. They have to prove themselves every year to stay in that saddle. So that first maneuver is called the button, and it's basically 4 circles within a circle. Some of those turns are as little as 16.5 feet. It's amazing to know that these motorcycles, as large as they are, can turn around in less than 2 parking spaces. Now, this particular maneuver that Sergeant Cruz is executing is the head and eyes, for obvious reasons. Very important to keep the head and eyes going and go look where you want to go rather than look what you're trying to miss. Because if you look at what you're trying to miss, you'll hit it with amazing accuracy.
That's the biggest mistake most riders make, eh?
So now we're going to go into the same pattern with two motorcycles. So now the front and the second rider have to bear in mind that there's another bike in there, and they have to judge themselves accordingly. They have to be very smooth on their throttle and their braking application. Has to be careful that he doesn't get too far back. The motorcycles are going to end up head to head in the middle. Let's hear it for Sergeant Cruz and Constable Page doing it 2 up. Well, let's throw another one in there and see how crowded we can get this thing. So now Sergeant Cruz is going to lead 2 of his officers through this set of maneuvers. You can see the space in these circles is getting smaller and smaller. There's not much room left. And if you listen really carefully, you can see that the engine speeds are actually quite low. They're executing these maneuvers with just a tiny bit of back brake pressure to stabilize the motorcycle. They have the clutch just in the take-up zone, or the friction zone, at all times, with a very tiny bit of throttle and power to the rear wheel. Well, 103 seconds to get going there. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I got some of the crowd saying after riding all day, you're not nearly tired enough. This isn't a hard enough job.
Wow. That's amazing.
There's getting to be an awful small amount of room in there for the new bike to get back. I felt a little bit of trust among your fellow officers when you're doing that. Really quite something to watch brand new officers learning that kind of stuff. They do spend a lot of time staring at the sky. Now, one of the wonderful things that we on the Toronto Police Motorcycle Squad enjoy is our partnership with the Ontario Provincial Police Golden Helmets. We share motorcade duties, we share parade details, and charity rides like the 911 ride, and we love it when we're working together. And it just goes to show you how similar our training is when we can throw guys in from a completely different unit with no practice, and they keep it nice and tight. How about our instructor, Constable Jimmy Wallace at the front there? He makes it look so easy, looks like he can have a nap. His boss says he makes it work. How about that? Constable Jimmy Wallace, Constable Steve Aguilar, and Constable Rick Breckenridge. Okay, now quite often, as a part of competition, we time these events, which requires a little bit of pepper, a little bit of speed. So this is Constable Dave Gray of the Ontario Provincial Police and our top instructor, Constable Dawid Kershin. So he's got a lot to live up to. And our nickname for Dowd is Django. Just remember the D is silent. How about that, folks? The footboards and a little bit of the frame contacting the ground as they were going through the patterns, but they still have the motorcycle under control. Okay, so the next demonstration we're going to do, as you saw, these officers, as they were coming through, were feathering the rear brake a little bit. But one of the training exercises that we use is to make them go through these patterns without the benefit of any brake to scrub off the speed. They have to rely entirely on the throttle and the clutch. So we're going to get a demonstration of these patterns from Constable Ewell with no use of the brake. In the last couple of years, this has been implemented into some of the competition maneuvers. And I can tell you, if you haven't practiced this, it can get very interesting very, very quickly. You hear him spinning up the engine every once in a while, make sure he's got power available to his rear wheel. He's fanning the clutch a little bit, try to keep power to the rear wheel, because if there's no power to the rear wheel, the motorcycle's going to go down. This is a maneuver where eye lead is very important. You'll notice his head snapping around. Constable Ewell is already looking at the next turn when he's making the turn before him. He's setting up, realizing where he needs to be with his front tire. That's it for Chris Ewell. Very nicely done, Chris. Now you're probably looking at this and wondering, what are they doing? So what we're going to do is we're going to put two officers into this exercise, one from each end, in the hopes that they won't interfere with each other. And then when they get into the second pattern, we're going to split them down the middle with a third officer. This is Constable Dawid Kershid and Constable Steve Aguirre. They're both instructors within our unit. There's only a couple of inches between those machines when they get into the center pivot cone. Yeah, let's hear it for that. Not too bad, eh? Okay, I'm told by Officer Kershid on the radio here that he's going to pick it up a little bit. He didn't like how fast I was. Take a look at how close those saddlebags get when they pass. Very nicely done, gentlemen. Alright, so now we're going to go down to the next pattern, and head and eyes. But just keep your eye out because there might be something else coming into that pattern with these two motorcycles. Take it away, boys. Okay, folks, so we're going to do that one more time. To see if somebody else wants to show up and play while we're doing it. It looks like Sergeant Cruz might be good. We're going to cut through this a little faster. Forget, they got to pass each other in the middle at some point. So things get a little bit tight. Yeah, they just change sides, just like that. Constable Aguirre. Nicely done, gentlemen. We're going to jump right back in here, and they're going to put their trust in their supervisors. Hold your hats, folks. Here we go. It's called right in the eye of the needle. Two riders inside, they need to put their foot down. Unrattle. Absolutely unrattle.
We have a really good view if you want to come where we are. You want to see, we're right in the middle.
Now it tells me he didn't quite like how that looked. So they want to do it faster. Steve Aguirre and our director Howard Carson. There's a variation of this called last man standing where you don't have to follow the same pattern. It's just a matter of time you have to get it right off and they can go quick like the last one. This is a little more severe, but it's the same idea. Steve's going to slow down and try and outslow that tower. Yeah, we're almost to a stop. Too far back or you'll get the path and it'll be how long you can hold that. So that's the idea. We're going to run through this a couple of more times to give some of these guys a chance to get into it. Sounds like somebody threw the gauntlet down over there. All right, it's our own Sergeant Cruz from the Toronto Police Motor Squad and Dave Gray. Dave Gray. Nicely done, Dave. Well, it looks like everybody wants to get into the act. Another of our instructors, Constable Chris Yule and Ginny Wallace from Tilsonburg, OPP. he's trying to reel Jimmy in, but Jimmy's not taking the bait. These are a couple of probably the best slow riders you'll find in the world. I think Jimmy's out. I think he went the wrong way. But we're going to let him go anyway. You get concentrating on that slow ride and you forget what's going on. Okay, this is Ricky Bobby from the OPP and our man Slick, Derek Cage, and Rick Breckenridge. I mentioned that Ricky likes to show off. Okay, seeing as you guys really enjoyed how slow they can make these motorcycles go, we're going to have one of our instructors, Constable Chris Yule, and an Ontario Provincial Police instructor, Constable Jimmy Wallace from Tillsonburg. And what they're going to do is they're going to come in here and do a demonstration of the slow ride. Okay. Okay, we're gonna, apparently the gauntlet got dropped again, so we're gonna take one more run at this Texas challenge. Keep your eye on the path of travel, folks, because they have to take the actual path of travel if they miss it an obstacle. Listen to how controlled it is. Not screaming. Moving away. Nice job, boys. Okay, we're going to get Constable Wallace up here, Jimmy Wallace, and Chris Yule. So over here at my end by the tent is Constable Chris Yule from the Toronto Police Motor Squad, and over on the far end there is Constable Jimmy Wallace. Apparently they're already teasing each other. Okay, let's see who gets to the halfway mark last here.
That's the middle.
This is all about fine control, folks. Fine feathering of the clutch, very light pressure on the rear brakes so as not to upset the bike. So we get down to the wire. Oh, there's a foot down. They probably didn't breathe for that whole 50 feet. Well, that wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.